come up with me. Woman with petals. Oh, how I love her, says man. How beautiful her scent is. Ah, she is so beautiful, says man. And that makes her beautiful. And it makes him beautiful. Because the most precious thing on this earth for man is the love of woman, the true love of woman, and the recognition of her as that extraordinary part of nature, where nature culminates in the pinnacle of pleasure and beauty for him, in woman. Of course, it's the woman principle, and every woman is endeavoring to bring that principle into her existence. It's there potentially in every woman, but my goodness, how her fears and doubts and the early part of her life of experimentation in sex and the disappointments and unhappiness and the broken hearts, how all that emotion sits on top of this extraordinary potential of beauty that is in every woman, and which she, and she alone in that individual body, must realize. She must bring it into existence, not by trying or wanting, but by being and living the spiritual life which does not give in to emotions and aimless thought and worry and undue concern. We are talking about a potential that is there in every woman and therefore in every man, for precisely the same energy is in every man, potential in every one of them. But he must recognize that the treasure of his life as man is woman in this existence, although the individual woman is not necessarily that beauty realized yet. Now, I'd like to tell you a story. I've told it before at my meetings, but I shall tell it again because it is so important with what I'm talking about, this extraordinary potential that is in woman's body and man's body. The principle of man in woman and man's body, and the principle of woman in woman's body. In other words, what I call the Lord. The Lord is in every body. The Lord is the great executive of God in existence. The Lord is not God, but it is an aspect of God, because God can never be in existence. But the executive of God is the Lord, and the Lord lives in every single human being. And it is that, the realization of the Lord in all of us, that makes the realization of woman and the realization of true man. But the Lord has no gender. It's neither male nor female. But the Lord has to come through either a man or a woman, for there are no in-between genders. And so the Lord appears as a woman or as a man. And if it's a woman, my love as man of her is my love of the principle in her, which is the Lord, the beauty in her. For the Lord is indeed beautiful, being an aspect of God, either in man or woman. But the Lord has no gender and is attributeless. So it has no attributes. And so the finest thing for a man or woman is to give up the human assertion, the human fears, the human being human, has worry and doubts and fears, because they're all assertions. To give that up, and then, only then, do I see the beauty of the Lord. When I am worried with self-concern, with my own wanting and trying, when I am worried with that, how can I see the Lord? I see the Lord by surrendering all my assertiveness as a man or a woman. Now, the story I'm going to tell you, as I said, I've told before at my meetings, but it's very important here today to what I'm talking about, so that you really grasp this. For if the whole human race could grasp what I'm going to say, there would be a different life on this earth, not a life of unhappiness and misery and wretchedness that comes from time to time, but a life of realization of the Lord and of God and of love in this very existence. Now, about 35 years ago, when I was a young man, I loved a woman so deeply, and so, I can't even say deeply, because I just loved her as God. And predictably, she left me. I say predictably because love serves us in so many ways its wonders to perform. And so I was so devastated. Imagine if you love someone as God, because I knew I loved her as God, but I had no one in existence who ever had experienced it, or no book to read, no one to say it to. It would sound as though I was just deluded, because in those days, of course, there was no New Age. There were all the knowledgeable people hadn't got knowledgeable around us, and all I had was my true experience of this extraordinary love of woman as God. So I had no one to refer to, but the point was that I couldn't stand it. I was so devastated, as you can imagine, that she had left me, and I did not have the knowledge to know that it was not in this individual woman that I loved. It was something else. But at any rate, I was in an ordinary situation when suddenly I had a vision. And the image of this woman appeared in front of me. Either in my head or in front of me, I don't know which. Visions, you don't know where they are really. And she walked from there to here. And as she walked, something fell away from her image, her body. And I exclaimed with great amazement, "It is the Lord." And the woman's image turned to me and said, almost indignantly, "Of course it is I. There is no Anne," which was the name of this woman. Now, isn't that an extraordinary thing? The truth of that means for all of us is that the Lord is inside of us. Of course it is I. There is no Helen. There is no Richard. There's no Mukunda. There's no Alan. There's no Sarah. There's no Neve. There's no Sally. No Katrina. No Robert. It is the Lord in disguise, the potential of beauty of God in each of us. Now, what is the purpose of the spiritual life? What is the purpose of the love of man or woman? It is simply to realize the amazing truth that it is God that I love, it is the Lord that I love in this individual body. And the bodies might go and come and go away, but it makes no difference, for the Lord is within this body that had the vision, because the woman's body was not there. It was a vision of instruction for me. The Lord is in my body, as the Lord is in your body. And it is the love of the Lord in my body, just like you, that I serve. I know that the anger will keep the realization of the reality of this Lord. I know that that will keep it from, because I can't have self-assertion and expect to find that which is power and does not assert itself in any way whatever except to be the Lord. I can't have resentment. I can't have broken hearts. And although my heart was broken by that experience, I had reached such a depth that I died. And I passed through death. Because most people, when they lose a loved one that they say they really love, and that's fair enough, they love them humanly, you see. They don't love them as God. And so they survive. You have a broken heart, your lover leaves you, but you'll survive, don't worry. The thing is not to survive, to die. And that happened to me psychologically because I couldn't stand it. I died psychologically. And what do you know? I passed through this realm in the psyche, invented by man and woman's imaginations of the need to survive and the fear of death. I passed through that level in the psyche, and I realized immortality, that there is no death, because I died. Instead of surviving with my pain and unhappiness, with my thoughts about the woman, with my lamentations, with my emotional fears that I'll never be able to go on, all this human stuff, I couldn't stand it. I died psychologically. And I passed through this level of no experience, which is death, because death is no experience. Psychologically, this happened to me. And I realized life. Ah, what a beautiful thing to be one with all of life. A thing that never leaves you once it happens. And I was one with all life. Because I had to be able to tell you people, and that's why it happened to me, that I had to be able to tell you people the truth of life. That's why it happened to this body and this mind. So that I could, because this body and this mind knew that I was going to be a world teacher. I didn't know such a miracle could possibly happen to this rather silly little man. But it happened so that I could teach you, tell you, not even teach you, but tell you what you are doing through the wonder of the miracle of the vision of the Lord that I have had in this body, and it has never left me. And so I can talk about any aspect of the love of woman, or man's love of woman, or the love of man, because the Lord informs me every moment from within. So now you know what you are doing in your spiritual life, that the light of the Lord is the light of the joyousness of well-being, to be able to well-be instead of unhappy and worried, because it doesn't matter what you're unhappy and worried about, it's going to pass. Nothing that you've ever had has not passed, and it will always pass. And you think it's the end of the world, but of course it's not the end of the world or the end of life. You still go on. You go on forever, whatever that means. So please know that the light inside of you, when you are in love, it is the Lord, the light of the Lord. When you say what a beautiful day it is, you are seeing the light of the Lord in the reflection of what is around you. When you are light-hearted in the sense of joy or rightness or singing just because it is You're in your well-being. It is the light of the Lord that's in your body. But when you are depressed, when you are moody, when you are wanting and unhappy, then it is the darkness of the human condition, of self-assertion. So, I would like to read you parts, if I can do that, of a letter that I received today from one of the women amongst you. A woman, incidentally, who hasn't been with a man for a couple of years. So I'll read it to you. It's very much to do with what I've been talking about, and it's very much to do with your life as a man or a woman. It first of all demonstrates the love of the Lord. Although I have never been your lover, I am loved by thee. How does she know that? Because she sees the Lord in me. Not the physical lover. She doesn't need that. She sees the Lord in me. Indeed, so powerful is the truth and love of woman in you, man, that thou hast catalyzed a profound revelation of the Lord, my eternal beloved, deep within me. The Lord is guardian of the threshold between my love of God, out of existence, and my own superfine sense of well-being in existence. It occurs to me that the Lord has always been here in this mysterious brink of sensation and nothing to speak of, and is indescribably beautiful. The Lord is revealed as an energetic knowledge, an incredibly fine sensation that is not entirely sensation, like the shimmering trail of a shooting star, disappearing into the formidable blackness of an endless night sky. I see the Lord as being keeping eternal vigil with outstretched arms, waiting to embrace me when I was purified enough of my attachment to feeling and thought. And I see that always my beloved has been here, at times with scathing sword drawn to do battle with myself. I have known great emotional and psychological pain at these times. But the Lord ruthlessly carves away the monstrous and beguiling aspects of myself, protecting me from myself, which wanted, avoided, expected, tried and attempted to conceptualize its way into the amazing kingdom of death and life beyond the threshold of sensation. But the Lord holds fast and yields only to love. In truth, the Lord is the champion of love, protector of love, and ever loyal servant of the Most High. And dearest Barry, Lord, inform, for that is what thou art, as must all men of God who truly love woman be, I am filled with gratitude, awe, and wonder and love. I love thee. Thou art beautiful as indeed I am in wonder and awe at this union within me, with my beloved the Lord. I, quote, thought, unquote, this could only be possible through love-making, but this is not so. I have not yet made love with man for 2 years. There is an undeniable release of newness of love as self-doubt in me is amazingly reduced, and right action is unfolding all through my life. For my love and I can do anything, as you say, and my Lord is my love and is always and has always been energetically within me. My fundamental trust and surrender to life, to God, grows deeper and more unshakable because of this union. Confidence to function and manage my existential life has also grown. If something, the past, should try to come between my love and I, more and more do clarity and stillness reveal the beloved's eternal presence to me. It is as if I'm taking part within in the mystery of the union between you and Sarah. It is affecting all who live your teaching in earnest, I believe. It is now so apparent to me how sensational love, making between man and woman, naturally leads to a deeper and finer love of God or consciousness. Just as the Lord resides on the brink of sensation and nothing to speak of, man and woman, as living reflections of the Lord, actually provide for each other the means of transforming pleasurable sensation into more beauty, more nothing, more God. This I have not realized with man, but somehow I know it is so. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Sarah. Because you are doing it there, it is becoming more and more possible here. I am profoundly grateful and aware of the privilege of being able to write to you, to be with you. Thank you, in love. Now there's a woman who's not with man and hasn't been with man, and yet she is aware of the Lord within her. She loves it. And it is that Lord, that brought every one of you here. It is the shining one inside of you that only your emotions and self-assertions can cover up. I think you would agree it's a beautiful letter from a beautiful woman who has to be beautiful to write such things. And all it is her adoration of the Lord writing. That's all. The Lord within her. That's all. Now remember, please, that this Lord is the very essence of you. It begins with the being in you. For the being is the beginning of the Lord, the shining one that you are. But as it is said, you must lose yourself to regain your own being. And that is what the spiritual life that you are living is about. And of course there's a great presence here between us that has been growing since our first day together, several days ago. Because the Lord responds to acknowledgement of love, of truth. The Lord in all of us responds to that. And that creates an energetic presence that somehow or other, I can't say fills the room because it's really in each one of us, but fills each one of us, our bodies, through the talk of something that is important, something that's vital, like love and truth. And the Lord shines forth, the shining one, and we feel the shining inside of us, or we sense the shining inside of us. And that's what the value of us, one of the values of us being together in this place. Because the self starts to recede. For you discover something more important than yourself by just being. And that, of course, is the stillness and silence of the Lord that you are within. Now let us go into this place of stillness and silence inside our body. And we do this by giving up our holding on to our body, our holding on to the past, our holding on to thought processes, our holding on to any emotions. You can close the eyes. We just give up everything for the Lord, as it were. Give up everything. And come into this place inside your own body. As it says in the most important verse in the whole of the great writings of the Mahabharata, the Indian, Hindu song of the Lord. Abandoning all the dharmas. Now, dharma means everything. It means fears, emotions, it means thoughts, it means whatever I'm hanging on to, even in my body, abandoning all dharmas. Come for refuge to me alone, and I will give you rest. In the whole Bhagavad Gita, that is the most important verse in the whole thing. The rest of it is a nice bit of entertainment. But the thing is to be able to see the most important statement in anything, that you can live, and that so few people live. Abandoning all dharmas. Now there was Arjuna. You remember, he was with Krishna, the Lord, who was his chariot driver, and Arjuna was a warrior. And when Arjuna was about to go into battle with his chariot, and Krishna driving it, and he saw all his relatives on the opposite side, he said, I can't do it. I can't go and kill them all. And what did the Lord say? The Lord says you must do as you do. You must not be sentimental. You must do what you have to do. Now go and kill them. You are a warrior. And what's a warrior who doesn't kill the enemy? Isn't that an extraordinary thing for the Lord to say? Extraordinary, but I wonder how many people who read that from time and time again see what you've got to do. See that your sentiment is keeping you from the realization of the Lord. I'm too sorry for someone. I'm too sorry for them. Well, you can't be sorry for somebody in the spiritual life. You have to be a warrior. You've got to kill them if it's necessary. You wouldn't be killing them if it weren't necessary. Arjuna would not be fighting the opposite side, the enemy, who happened to be all his relatives. He wouldn't be fighting those unless it was necessary. He considered it necessary for the good of his own nation. So if that's so, Arjuna, what's this sudden sentimentality just because they're your relatives? Kill them. Kill them like I kill them, God kill them. I, the Lord, kill all the children that are at present 2 years old being killed this moment. Who do you think kills them? That's what the Christians had to invent, a devil. Because no one could face the fact of a God that could kill the people left, right and centre, and said, who's crying about this? Because this is my life, saith the Lord. This is my life, not your life, your silly little mental life. Everybody is my life. And I kill where I want to kill to teach you that you must not be selfish, you must not be personal, you must do as you do. For I am the Lord inside of you, and it is my life. It is not your life at all. You just live it, but it is mine. abandoning all dharmas, abandoning all sentimentality, abandoning all thought. Now come on, sink into me. Come for refuge to me alone. And where is this me? The most intimate part of your whole existence, which is inside your body, which is deep down. That is where I am, saith the Lord. Now come on, give up. Give up and come to me and know the glory and the light and the rightness of whose life it is me. And although your wants and wanting have made you shuffle from left to right through the experience of this life, there is another trail that I have left of rightness, of circumstances, amongst all the worry and concerns and the wrong decisions and the right decisions. There is a trail, if you look inside of you, that you see the significant events in your life, created by me, the Lord, to bring you to your senses, to help to bring you to me. And I am still doing that, says the Lord. But it is my life, and I direct your paths. Rough hew them as you may, with your wantings and tryings and decisions and choices. Now be easy. Be still and know that I am the Lord within you. Now remaining in this place, because this is the place where more of you is than anything else, in this consciousness, open the eyes and come more into the world of awareness, which is the awareness of the sensory, the senses and the sensory projection, in which we see, hear, smell, taste, etc. And then we have our human mind, which puts all those things together and listens through the ears to see that what I'm seeing is the same as what I'm hearing. Because the mind gets very confused if it can't confirm what it's seeing with what it's hearing. And the mind is always making connections, and it is so used to making connections in the outside as it then makes connections in the memory, and that's what thinking is. To make a connection with some past experience, so we think about the past. So that's the human mind, always moving, never still, always making connections between the memory. That's what it meant. That's what it meant. And we think we have to go into the past to discover the meaning of our lives. Not so. For everything that is real is in the present. And if you have an unhappy love life, then that comes out of your past. And if you have an unhappy job, then that comes out of your past. So you don't have to go in and find out what the reasons are in your past or childhood, because everything is reflected in your life around you now that has ever been in your life, contrary to your life or good in your life. So why do you want to go into the past? Well, it is such, we are such that we are creatures of the past. For thousands of years, we've been thinking about the past, making connections with our memories. So as soon as we try to be still, this devilish mind won't stop thinking about the past, making connections through the memory, or looking around it, being curious, making connections in the world of awareness outside. So it's quite an automatic sort of thing, is the human mind. And the most difficult thing is to stop it, as you know, because all thought is another form of worry. It doesn't take long for thought to become worry, does it? The only difference is that when I'm thinking aimlessly as I walk around or sit, that there's not necessarily any emotion dominant at the time. And so what I think is aimless thought, if they put some emotion behind it, becomes worry. So all thought leads to worry eventually, until I get rid of these devilish emotions, this self of me. Because it is the self that makes me think. It is my insecurity which creates my emotions. If I'm in a partnership, I get emotional because I am insecure, because I don't really know that I am truly loved. And that's an insecure condition, isn't it? But if I am truly loved, and gradually it gets through my body, my ground, that I am truly loved by this man or woman, the next thing is that the thinking process starts to slow down. Although as soon as I go into the world and have to do what I have to do in the world, I will encourage the thought process, and I will think about what I've been doing in the world, and so I will get a reaction there where I will think, my goodness, my mind is still working, ticking over, thinking about what I'm doing in the world. Well, that's because it gets excited by having to do something in the world that requires concentration or mental application. But then when you come into your love life and know that you are truly loved, it helps to slow it down, because nothing slows anything down like love. But that's the modern world. That's the modern world which we have created, a world of thought, a mental world. And so few of us realise how to get rid of our emotions because we are attached to our feelings, aren't we? You know how difficult it is, and we've heard in this room and in other rooms that we've been present in, how people love and can't understand how they could possibly give up their feelings because they love them. They think they're really good, when they're only emotions in disguise, disguised by human cleverness as not to mean something bad, but something good. Take the sentimentality that I was talking about. That's a feeling. Sentiment is a feeling. Not good. Not good. Will make me suffer, sentiment. So I thought that we'd go into this question of attachment. Now, whenever we do anything daily and repeat it, we tend to get attached to it. We tend to get an expectation that it's going to be the same tomorrow as it was today. And that expectation becomes an attachment, an emotional attachment inside of us, because our emotions like to get onto something regular that either entertains us, excites us, gives us love, anything at all that we can repeat there, and we might, even in love, loving someone, there is still this reciprocal of emotional reaching out, which means a psychic reaching out. So we go and do something every day, and when we do that, we become familiar with that regularity in our bodies. And what we don't know is there's an emotional or a psychic reaching out which attaches me to that regularity. This is psychic, it's not. If I go to work every day, that's physical, let's say, but unbeknown to me, this emotional or psychic attachment is reaching out and attaching to the work. Even though I've gone home, I'm still attached to my work. And should I suddenly be sacked, and sacked immediately so that I'm paid up and don't have to go to work again tomorrow, the attachment inside of me is awful. It's not so much as the mind would tell me, the worry about the future and how I'm going to exist, or that the mind will make a meal of that. It's really the breaking of the attachment. What am I going to do? Am I going to sit around at home and I don't want to do anything else? There's a consternation because the attachment hasn't been broken, because I'm still attached to what has been broken physically. And I'm sort of churning over inside with doubts and fretting because I'm still attached to what has disappeared psychically. Remembering that we are psychic creatures. We're not as much physical creatures as we are psychic creatures. And then we become attached, don't we, to our thought processes. We love to think. We sit at the bus stop and aimlessly think. Aimlessly because it's not about anything in particular that could possibly mean anything, but we are attached to it, and so the attachment keeps the thinking process going. I'm just attached to thinking because it's a way of passing time. It's a way of knowing that I exist. So I think. And of course you all know what it's like trying to break the attachment to thinking. Very difficult because it's a psychic thing. not a physical thing. You can say as you do when you're very worried in bed at night and you're worried. You can say, I'm not going to worry about this anymore. I'm not going to think anymore. You recognize that, don't you? I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm stopping. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because the attachment to thought and worry has been built up over the years and you since you were a child. And nobody ever told you or endeavored to instruct you how to get rid of it. So we're attached to thinking. And then our feelings. Well, don't we love our feelings? Because when I have no feelings, if anyone says, I'm going to take your feelings from you, you'd think it was a UFO or an alien that came and going to give you an injection in the head and take your feelings from you. My God, what a terrible thing. But then, is it so terrible? Because when you are in love, when you are in well-being, and love is not a feeling, it is a state, and so is well-being a state, when you are in that state, you have no feelings. You just sense the goodness inside your body and the goodness of life. You sense it. You don't feel it, you sense it. For we are sensory creatures, within and without. But aren't we attached to our feelings? Well, the demonstration of that is when I am moody. And someone might say, unwisely probably, snap out of it. Well, you've got no hope of snapping out of it, have you? You've been trying all morning to snap out of it and you can't. Because you're attached to the gloom of moodiness and unhappiness of the self. The amorphous disappointments that have laid down there inside you. So we're attached to our feelings, our thoughts. We're attached to our job. We're attached to our children. Now we could say, I love my children, and that is true. I don't doubt that you love your children. But you are also attached to them because you're with them as little children when they're so dependent on you. And day after day you feed them on your breast, or you go to work and you come home and you enjoy the pleasure of having them around the house and calling you daddy or mummy. And you gradually see them develop and you become attached. So there's a psychic hand coming out around them that is far stronger than any physical hand. I don't doubt that you love them, but I also don't doubt that you're attached to them. And it is the attachment that suffers. When life doesn't turn out as we think it would or according to our expectations, it is the attachment that stresses and strains and pulls like an elastic band and hurts us. So you love your children, but you're attached to them because of the way of things that we become attached, because we never learnt to love with a minimum of attachment, did we? Nobody taught us, did they? Not since Guru got thrown out the window by the human mind, and particularly scientists. The only one who knows has been got rid of. What a terrible thing in this existence. Still, that's not so for you. Now, how about love between man and woman? I get attached, of course, to the woman that I love if I'm a man, and vice versa, the man that I love if I'm a woman. Just by the sheer action of sleeping together and being together, particularly in making love together, there's an attachment. The arm of emotion, this emotional arm, this psychic arm comes out and forms a form of them, you know. It's a magical stuff, this psyche. It even makes the colour of their hair, the look on their face. Psychically, this is inside of me. Their build and everything, and their little mannerisms, which I become attached to. And so I then carry an image of my beloved inside my body psychically, a psychic image of my beloved. I trust this is all true in your experience, please. No good me talking to myself, is it? You have to work with me and keep seeing, is this true? Is something being revealed here that is helpful to me in my divine life? So now I have inside of my brain or inside my body psychically a spitting image of my beloved in form, the man or woman that I love or sleep with or make love with. Now suddenly, because life is what it is, the man or woman leaves me or dies, or the child that I have also made a psychic image in. What happens? The actual physical presence is gone, and there's a part of me and my intelligence can say, it's finished, it's gone. But I neglect the psychic part of me, which is far stronger than any mental part of me. And that's reaching out to see and feel the physical representation of the psychic image that I have formed inside of me. It's reaching out everywhere trying to find it, but it's gone. And so I start to suffer. And what's worse, I start to imagine, because damn it all, this psychic image throws up to my intellect, or really to my mind to start off with, throws up images of the other from this psychic representation inside my body, throws up images into my mind of the hair, of the face, of the look on it, of the little mannerisms, of the times that we spent together, and damn it all, here comes a wave of emotion up inside of me of loss or lack. That's how it works. So the physical parting can take place, but the emotional lamentations and wretchedness inside and misery inside, as though life had ended, takes over. And although I can be strong as I can be, this image that I formed inside will continue from time to time to throw up reflections of the image, and I will have a wave of grief come into me, a wave of feeling, won't I? And to keep that grief going when I should really cut it off, I should really cut off, have no thought whatever about that man or woman ever again, even though it be my beloved daughter or son who died so early, I must never think about him or her again, for the only good that will be will to feed the image of them inside of me, the psychic image, which will torture me as it endeavors to get some feeling of the original, which no longer exists. And we have to be careful of its cunning. In its unhappiness, this emotional image, this emotion, this psychic entity that I have formed of the one that I did love, I have to be careful as a man or woman when the relationship ends, that I don't start thinking of how much of my life I gave to him or her, so that I don't get angry and have a rage inside of me. because that's only affirming the psychic image. That's a trick of the psychic image to get some recognition out of rage or anger at what was done to me by another, instead of being sensible and real and saying, right, the truth of the matter is that we served each other as best we can and we loved one another as best we could. And either I or he was not up to the other. And it's finished. But we did it. We did it together. We did it in time together. We did our best. And only to blame or to think that I was betrayed or to hold a disappointment is purely to hold on to the suffering and the pain. This is where you've got to be a great student of life. That life is made up of these comings and goings and these disappointments and unhappiness. And you must never assume that it is not going to happen to you. You certainly don't assume that it's going to happen to you, but that would be negative and bring up negative feelings. But you cannot afford to assume that you and your partner together is going to last even another day, because that's not life. Life is controlled by the Lord, and the Lord gives us what is necessary for us, even heartbreak, to bring us to our senses so that you live like I'm talking. Not that you follow some religion or some stupid teaching. You come to your senses and listen to the truth and see what makes man and woman suffer from what I'm saying. You must not blame or accuse inside of you. It is true you must have nothing to do with the other ever again. You must treat them as dead. You must see through them if they're in front of you. You must not even notice their actions or anything. You must see through them because they no longer live. They're dead. Because if you give them any life at all inside of you and get worried or are interested in what they're doing, you bring them to life inside of you as a psychic entity. They are dead. Now, are you ruthless enough, as I told you the Lord is, to kill, to bury your previous lover? Are you ruthless enough? Or are you sentimental, which is what this emotion is inside? Are you sentimental? Do you really enjoy thinking about how lovely it was to be together? The companionship, the compatibility when it suited you both. But what about the arguments? What about the sex that came up that you were endeavoring to get rid of, either in yourself or in the other? What about that made you then argue and be unhappy? What about that? What's compatibility? What's the good of compatibility? Where you can go out and you can do things together and have a good time together. What's the good of that if there is not this harmony in the life of love between you? No good at all. But the human mind loves compatibility and companionship. And we can't be blamed for loving companionship because we are separate bodies. And we really, if I could use this word, shouldn't be separate, but we are separate in this projected existence. And companionship is a way of being together. But it does bring about this emotional attachment. So that when we part, the emotion is wretched, makes us wretched. There is only one way to break with a lover, or to break with the death of someone that you love. That's bury them forever and never think about them again. For as far as lovers go, you did your best Doesn't matter who betrayed who, or who did this and who did that. That's not the point. You did your best. Even the betrayer did his best or her best. And that's what happened. We both did our best. We served each other. We received from each other the love because we both did love each other, but not enough to enduringly love. We didn't love enough. But that's all right. That's life. Happens all the time. And life moves on and separates us. But I must not hold on to my beloved in my mind or my emotions. I must be ruthless like the Lord. And once it has happened, cut. That is the only way to handle this. Have you heard of any other way? Because I haven't heard of any yet. And I've heard every story that I think it's possible to hear on the face of this earth. And I haven't heard any wisdom come from any religion, anywhere, any belief, except what I say. I must be ruthless when it comes to burying my own emotions, as the Lord is. And the question is, am I speaking the truth? Or do you still want to have your lovely, icing, sweet feelings of disappointment? Or do you want to have the strength of your self-assertion of rage because you've been betrayed? Or is it better to start fresh and new in this moment, which is the Lord's life? And the Lord brings about extraordinary changes. Every day, every week, something new is likely to happen. New love can come to us at any age, at any time. New circumstances that heal us of the past, but it will come much quicker if I bury the dead. And as far as someone who I love has died is concerned. Now, did you really love their body, which you must have known, because I endeavor to get you to know, they're going to die anyway, or they're going to leave. Did you really love their body? Or is that only your mind that thinks you loved their body? Or was it the beauty inside their body that you loved? The beauty, the Lord, the shining inside their body that you loved. And of course, the Lord is not just an intellectually shining thing. The Lord is also in the flesh. Remember, I was talking about the ground. Our body is a ground. Our ground. And when it is coarse and has no knowledge of the invisible, has no knowledge of the unknown, has no intimations of that which is beyond description. It is coarse, and then its actions are coarse, and its speech is coarse, because it talks about only materialistic things. And so the body is coarse, the actions are coarse, the behavior is coarse, the speech is coarse, because it does not acknowledge love, or the Lord, the wonder of the Lord. As such people cannot truly love. They only know lack, the emotional lack of us. They can't really love, so there's not a great deal of pain there, really. They soon get over it because they can think it through and go on with something else. But the more sensitive you become in life, in the spiritual life, the more you can perceive the Lord in things, that it is the Lord behind everything. It's the Lord in the sparrows that I speak about, the beauty of them. It's the Lord acting through that body. It's not the sparrow's body, because if you see the sparrow when it's dead, there's something missing there, you know. Because the Lord's no longer there. The Lord's withdrawn, and when the Lord withdraws, the physical body, which is really a dream, starts immediately, and imperceptibly to our senses, to deteriorate, to break up, like some vision that's been there, and it starts to break up and disintegrate. And if we leave it there, it will just disappear with the help of a few ants and things. His job it is to get rid of those things. Did you love the body? You might have loved what was in the body in the making of love, but in the making of love, the pure sensation of being in a woman for a man is the sensation of the beauty of the Lord in her. And if I'm just going to grind away in there to get an orgasm, then I am not having the Lord in her. I am just having self-satisfaction and self-indulgence, and I might as well go and masturbate or make love to myself. But if I love, you see, it changes the gestalt inside of me. My ground is different, and I'm sensitive to the beauty of what's happening here inside this body, because I can't see where my penis is. I can't see where it is. I can just sense from that being there. There's a sensational beauty going on here, and that is the beauty of woman's flesh. And of course, as she's not there very much because she's had so much emotion in her flesh and in her body, and has acknowledged the emotion and hasn't got rid of it, then of course she won't have that much feeling in her vagina. And on those occasions, she's likely to give in to the need for excitement, you see, because excitement is a form of life, I suppose, a substitute for love. And that gives her the sense of excitement, gives her the sense of at least having some life in her vagina or in her body. But it doesn't last. And it just makes her more insensitive in her vagina. So she gets attached to excitement. And when it comes to a true lover coming to her and loving her, she can't feel him because he's not exciting. He's just loving. At any rate, did you really love his body? Or did you love her body, the one who died, your mother or anything? Or did you just love the Lord in her? And do you think that Lord has died just because that body has died? No. No. What I loved in my mum, in my dad, is still there somewhere. The love never dies. But it's this silly mind and emotions that buries the dead physically and then bewails their departure for week after week and month after month, instead of let the dead bury the dead. Finish with it. Finish with it. Death is necessary, or the whole world would be crowded with mothers and fathers that people love. Imagine a world filled with mothers and fathers and lovers, ex-lovers, and everything that died. For God's sake, you wouldn't be able to move. There'd be no room for any new life because it'd be cramped with mothers and fathers that we want to live forever. Now, come on. Everything must die, everything has had its time, and when time's up, that's it. Stop lamenting it, for God's sake. Face life as it is. For the new comes. There is no end to life or love, only to bodies, only to dreams, only to expectations. Now, would anybody like to ask me a question? Yes, this lady.
I have a question about a relationship after the separation. We separated because of a lack of resonance and the body's fitting after 14 years being together. And now being here and looking at my emotions, I wonder whether there's a relationship between the amount of emotions in me and the possibility of bodies fitting. So, yeah, not to be lamenting about the past, because I'm willing to give up this marriage, but just I wonder whether there's another chapter, if I can give up my anger, my force, my intellectual manipulation.
Well, of course. Your life is not over yet, is it? You're a young lady. You've got many more years. And it's the best thing you ever did was to give up that marriage. Because if it's not working, if it's not harmony, if it's not giving you back love, what's the good of it? Comfort and convenience? No. Did you say then that you fitted physically but not psychologically? What?
No, not fitting the bodies entirely.
The physical body's not fitting?
No.
Well, you should have known that from the start. If you'd come to me 14 years ago, I don't know where I was 14 years ago.
7 years ago I came to you.
7 years ago. Well, you must have heard about that. If the bodies don't fit, and you do your best to get through that, because it could be due to the emotion in the man or the emotion in yourself, but you still feel a love for each other and you're prepared to go through it, and you do see in the behavior of each other that you do love one another, love being with each other, then it's possible to break through a non-fitting in the bodies.
Yeah,
but
we saw resonance growing.
Yes.
Indeed, until a certain point. But now I wonder whether, because of my amount of emotion, it couldn't go further.
Yes, I understand that. Well, you were only emotional. Woman doesn't get emotional about nothing, you know. She gets emotional because she's not fulfilled in love. And the man's job is to say, well, what am I doing or not doing that's not fulfilling you, that's making you emotional? And you could have been able to say that. What would you have said? If he said you got emotional, what would you have said if he said, what am I doing or not doing that's making you emotional? What would have been the truth?
That I felt he didn't love my body enough.
Right. There you are. Now, when a woman feels that a man who she's with does not love her body enough, then she's going to get emotional. Isn't that so? Woman doesn't get emotional for nothing. And that's what emotion's for me to say, well, God, what's happened here? What am I doing to you? Not what you're doing to me, that selfish way, but what am I doing to you or not doing to you? No, he didn't love your body enough.
But now that it's over, I can see why not. Maybe because I'm an angry woman inside. Maybe because I'm intellectually manipulating him. So am I lovable enough? I mean, am I going too much for the perfect to ask for a body which is fitting, suiting and merging when I'm a human being still?
Oh, you're a good
wrestling.
student. You remember the 3 words. Look, you've got to, I think there's a certain, you're prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt, aren't you? This man.
Yeah.
Well, don't.
Okay.
That's the trick, that you know, woman's such a loving creature that no matter if the man didn't love her enough, she'll make allowance for it and say, well, I was probably to blame. Nobody's to blame. You got out of it and it's the best thing you ever did because he didn't love you enough. If he'd loved you enough, you would have got through it and stayed in it. And you said at one stage that you had the resonance, you broke through the other, you had the resonance, but then it didn't last. Can you tell me what happened, what event happened?
I said the resonance grew, but it was still not perfect. And then he felt more resonance for another woman. And that was the reason why he left. And now after a few months, he realizes he doesn't love her.
Oh dear. Oh dear. And is he trying to come back to you?
I can sense that, yeah.
And you tell him you bury him.
Okay.
You kill him stone dead. You look through him. Now stop being sorry for the man. He can't love. He hasn't found a woman to love yet. But don't worry. She's out there somewhere if he'll only learn to love. And as for you, have you heard all that I've said about emotions and love and fitting? And that if a man doesn't fit you and it shouldn't take so much of a trial, then it's no good because your body needs to be loved with harmony, doesn't it?
Yes.
It doesn't. If it doesn't fit, then after a reasonable trial, give it up. And don't let the comfort and convenience and as little as possible the children be the consideration that keeps you together. Because the children are not going to last. They're not going to last. They're going to grow into ordinary human beings, which is not as lovable as the children were. I'll tell you that. But the love goes on, there's no doubt. Now, as for your future, you've got to bury this man and not allow him to make any more contact with you whatever, because that will make you sentimental. Then you'll overemphasize your own emotional conditions, which were only due to not being loved. Now give up you have no reason to be angry now, have you? You said you're an angry woman. Are you an angry woman?
I saw more of myself after the separation than before. I saw more of the anger in myself in relation to other people around me. Then during the marriage there was more stillness and love in me.
Yes,
so
but the other...
maybe it broke up open because of the separation, but I can see more now the emotions that you always speak about.
Yes, of course you can, because life teaches us, doesn't it? And that does not mean the way you were. All it means is that the emotions were dormant. That's all. And then it breaks open, and the dreadful unhappiness of being a woman who wasn't loved for 14 years, but you did your best. At last you should be free. And you must not have anything to do with this man. You must get his furniture out of your house or you out of his house. You don't have anything to do with him, no thought about him, or you're going to suffer. That's the only reason. Any thought about him and you'll suffer, and you'll get sorry for him. He's all right. He had his cake and he ate it, and he found he was sick after it, the lady... And you've still got a soft spot for him. Oh dear, you just got to get ruthless in this matter.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Johanna?
I find, Barry, that we've come to a bit of a paradox here, because part of your teaching, fundamentally, if you give up the past, meaning that you do stop thinking, at the end of the day, after every moment, you have a new moment. I have practiced that for some time, and in my life, there is then no need to be ruthless, as you put it.
But you're not in a situation where you've got to be ruthless, are you?
No, that's correct.
I mean, you only be ruthless when you have to be, such as in the situation the lady's describing.
Yes, sure.
You've got to be ruthless then, otherwise you'll suffer. But where you are, You see no reason to be ruthless, and woman shouldn't be ruthless because when she has no need to be, it's only to the strength to not put up with lack of love or her own sentimentality.
But there is a but. Where is the possibility of the man or the woman having changed? It could be sometimes that a man can change, or a woman. And if that is the case, it would be a great pity if you were to consider that person dead.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. So, say a man leaves a woman, like we just heard, or any of our experience, talking about a man leaving a woman, then I would expect him, if what you say is true, that he could change, within 2 or 3 weeks, I would expect him to be on her doorstep, saying, I cannot live without you. I have realized. I have changed. I am finished. I just love you so much that my life has ended truly and I am changed. I just want to be with you. And I'm talking about on her doorstep every day. And I'm talking about having no other cares, no other concerns at all. I don't care about anything. I just want to be with you. Now, I would consider that to be a change in a man. But to finish with her and go off with another woman and then come back and say, look, I've discovered that I really love you, I wouldn't believe that bullshit for a minute. I'd say, well, okay, now, what are you going to do about this if you want to give him a chance? Let's see what you can do about this. Well, why don't you go away for 6 months and then come back and tell me that you've changed so much that you want to live with me forever? Bye-bye. See, a man's got to change, and he only changes under terrible loss. Only loss makes man change.
Yes.
You understand? Do you understand?
Yes, I do. I do understand.
Yeah, he won't change otherwise. He'll take advantage of woman's softness and sentimentality as much as he can. And he'll keep coming back if he can. Okay?
Thank you.
Woman never stops a man, even if she buries him, as long as he can demonstrate to her reality that he is utterly changed and loves her. Not just coming back for a bit of sex or something, for a little while. Oh, no. That's all human love. All right, then, I understand it's time for lunch, and I've had a very good morning this morning, meaning that we've covered some very important ground. But you see, woman is such a loving creature. She will give the man the benefit of the doubt. And instead of giving him the benefit of the doubt, she has to get him to demonstrate the benefit so that she doesn't have to doubt him. And she's got to stop being sentimental and stop taking the blame. Of course, nobody's to blame in what I'm saying. You both did your best, that's it. It didn't work, and that's the end of it. Nobody's to blame. You don't hold anything against any man. But you mustn't be sentimental about it. It's finished. But if it's not finished, then go back and live with him. Indeed. Go and do it. But you say, oh, well, that's impossible. I don't want to do it. Well, then if you don't want to do it, finish it. It's as easy as that, or as hard as that. Thank you all, and see you at what time, Kate? At 1:30.